Welcome to Cascade Hoops Talk. Today we have Jason Beschta. He's the head men's basketball coach. John Brown, Golden Eagles. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Hey, how's everybody doing this morning? I hope you're doing well. We're going to start off with a few milestones first, a little bit of catch up from yesterday, and then we're going to jump right into our conversation with Coach Beschta. Tonight, we're not going to do the regular conference reviews. I had other obligations, but tune in first thing Monday morning. We'll catch you all up on all the conferences and the standings and all the action over the weekend. Why don't we start with Lane Sparks? You know him, Huntington Foresters. He scored 28 points the other night in that big Forester win over Bethel. He did it on the road, and part of that 28 points is he passed the 2,000 career mark. What a game to do it in. It was a huge game for the Foresters on the road, passing that 2,000 career point mark, and he's not done. He's having a great season. Congratulations to Lane Sparks. Also, Brendan Young, we had him on earlier as he passed, I think it was the 1,000 points, and now he's eclipsed 1,000 career rebounds. He's the first player with 1,000 career points and 1,000 career rebounds in Madonna history. Congratulations to Brendan Young. He's a great player there at Madonna, and they're resurging. If you haven't noticed, you haven't looked at the WAC standings lately, you need to. Congratulations, Mr. Young. Devin Foster, Central Baptist, he just achieved 100 career blocks, only the third player in program history there at Central Baptist to do that. Congratulations to him. And Gabe Newhoff, Gabe's the tall one. That's Coach Cottingham he's with. Gabe's the tall one. 600 career rebounds. Young man is just a junior. Great basketball player. Everybody I talk to says he's a great guy too. And congratulations to Gabe Niehoff. We're going to go through real quick. I messed up last night, and I don't know why this screenshot didn't come through, but this was the G-Pack from last night. I'm just going to touch on it because it's such a big conference, tight conference race. Big news in this conference is Morningside beat Dort. Unless you're living in a cave, you already know that. So Dort has a game over Northwestern and Concordia now. Northwestern and Concordia are tied for second, and then only one game back from that is Morningside. So this race is starting to get pretty crazy. So on Saturday, watch for these games. Morningside's back in action on the road against Mount Marty. Honestly, that game right there is, I think, one of the, because they're on the road, probably one of the most pivotal games on Saturday. Of course, every game in the G-Pack on Saturday is big. But I just wanted to touch on that. I apologize to everybody in the G-Pack that I didn't get that on last night. I messed up. Let's just drop it at that. Okay, we're going to speak to Coach Jason Beschta. He's the head men's basketball coach, John Brown. He's been there quite a few years. He's kind of an old sage around the NAI. I really enjoyed the conversation. He understands the entire NAI very, very well, has a good feel for it. Anyway, it's a good conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. But let's just listen to the conversation and I'll shut up. Cascade Hoops Talk is Billy D. Hey, I got Jason Beschta. He's the head men's basketball coach, John Brown. They are the Golden Eagles. Thank you, Coach, for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So, the first thing I want to ask you about, what in the world is the deal with going on the road in the Sooner? Everybody in the Sooner has lost at least 30% of their road games.
Yeah, I think it just speaks to the level of depth in our league. And, there's just not an easy place to play. And I was talking to actually our old coach here, John Sheehy, who was here for like 20 years, won a national title. I was talking to him yesterday about this. And I was like, it's not even that it's a tough to go on the road in our league. It's just our league's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough where you play anybody, whether you play them at home. There's nobody undefeated at home either. And it's just that our league is really difficult to get a win, wherever you are. Obviously, I think there's a little bit of that at home more than on the road, but I think it's just overall they're just tough teams.
Yeah, it's just unusual to see that many road lions consistent all the way through the conference when you look through. Talking about the Sooner. I want to talk about your team, but this race is crazy. You are in quote unquote fifth place, but you're a game and a half out of first. I mean, has you been in a Sooner race this tight before?
Not with this many teams. I feel like there are years you have maybe a couple teams up towards the top vying
Yeah.
for that top spot, but never like this many. And even Texas Wesleyan has been right up there as well, and they just came off a loss, but they were right there as well. We've
Yes.
got so many teams playing good basketball, that really anything can happen over these next few weeks.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I really, the way, there's so many teams coach across the country, 250, whatever it is, 250 or something. It's almost impossible to track each one and make a bunch of sense out of it. But what I do is I just break down the conferences and I just track the conference races because I feel like the conference race is the great leveler. It's that if you do well in your conference, you're probably pretty good. Uh, it's hard to compare teams across the country. I just like to see how they do in their conference. So I loved all these tight conference races. The KCAC is the same way this year. They got three teams tied for first place. Again, I still want to talk about your team, but you've been around NAI basketball so long. The level of athleticism, I've watched it my whole life, NAI basketball. Over the last, 20 years, and then the last 10 years, and even the last 5 years, it seems like it's really accelerating the talent and the athleticism. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think it's just the landscape has changed so much in college sports.
Yeah.
And as you see, as kids have had their extra year, as that's been a big piece of things for the last few years, you just have the quality of players. You have such older players sticking around playing. And teams are always, for the most part, I know there's some really exceptional young players out there, even in the NAI this year, but you typically win with older players a lot of times. And I think we've just seen the age of teams go up, and kids are transferring from all different kinds of places. You see, teams in our league are getting it done by getting a lot of Division I transfers, other ones Division II and junior college, and then there's still teams doing it with a lot of four-year kids. There's a lot of ways still to do it. I think there's just a lot of talented kids out there these days.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You talked about age and experience. You're kind of doing it both ways. You got one senior, Drew Miller, who is obviously having a heck of a season for you, leading you in scoring and rebounding. And then Trey Edding, who's a sophomore. Two of the key guys, two guys you just can't seem to get off the court. And Drew
Yeah.
Miller's your only senior. You got to feel really good about your future. But talk about Drew and Edding.
Yeah, Drew's a special one for us, and we were really excited when we were able to get him to transfer in here from Arkansas Fort Smith a year ago, and he was able to step into a much bigger role as a scorer here, and he's got great size, he's got a really great ability to shoot the ball deep. And he's got kind of this, I always joke with him, he's kind of got this old Larry Bird type shot, which is just kind of even harder to block. And I don't know if he likes that or not, but it's been going in, so I don't think he cares. And he hits shots. He can really rebound the ball for us. He scores in a lot of ways. But one of the great things about Drew too, and Drew just came away last week and scored his 1,000th point of his career,
Yep.
which was really special. And in the midst of that, on a week he does that, he accepted a role like in the next game. He's willing to do whatever it takes for us to win. And if that meant a team wants to try to take him away and they're going to face guard him and try to keep him from touching it, we utilized him in some ways that he really bought into, and it's led us to some other victories. And I think that just speaks really highly of him and his character and his commitment to our team's success over his own. But he's been a lot of fun when he gets going too. He gets some nights and he's just hitting shots, and it's hard to stop him.
Oh, wow.
And then, Trey Edding, as you said, Trey has um, been a real bright spot for us this year. I thought he came on really strong as second semester went on his freshman year, and actually hit two basically game winners for us in second semester last year. And so we knew, like, he's this tough as nails kind of kid, can play probably all 40 minutes at the same pace if we need to. He's in phenomenal shape, and he just he's one that even if we don't make him a focal point of what we're trying to do on offense, he's going to come away with stats just because. I mean, the game just rewards guys that play that hard and are that active. And he'll defend, a best guard on the other team. He'll go get, like last game, I think he had like 4 offensive rebounds and a couple finishes, even in the midst of all that in the paint. He can really shoot the ball. A week ago, we had a game at College of the Ozarks, and he kind of took that one over on his way to being player of the week, and I think had 29 that game and was just getting to the basket. He does things in so many ways, and he's one of those guys that seems like before every game, as I'm talking with the opposing coaches, they're just like, man, we just love that kid. I mean, he's just, you would love for him to be on your team rather than
Right.
having to plan on playing against him, but he just can affect the game in so many ways.
I want you to talk about a couple other guys that are double digit guys for you. George or Lepre, you say, is it pronounced Lepre?
Lepre.
Lepre.
Yep.
Lepre
Lepre.
George, and then Elijah Lawrence. They're big producers for you as well.
They are, and I think we hit the jackpot with some of the guys we brought in this year in this class, and we knew we needed to bring in some scoring, something we'd struggled with a little bit the last couple of years, and so we tried to bring in guys we thought could really help us there, and so we'll play at times with lineups of Elijah and Lepre and Trey all together. Even it's basically 3 point guards that can all play on or off the ball really well. Um, Lepre's been a guy that's played an awful lot on the ball for us, has led us in assists. He's had some really big nights for us, and can go create something I think we really needed with this group. And then Elijah Lawrence, I mean, he's just a scorer, and he's just got a knack for scoring. He really shoots the ball well and shoots with a ton of confidence, as he should. He's shooting the ball well, but then he's extremely quick. And all of a sudden, you get guys running at him, and he's going to blow by him and get some things at the basket. Plus, he's just got great hands defensively. He's had some games where he's kind of either picked the pocket of some of the good guards in our league, or been in some great help and been able to come up with key steals late in games. And that's one of the special things I think about this team is if you were to go back and look at box scores for us, is you see a lot of different guys, either the top or the second leading scorer on any given night. And so it makes it really difficult to key in on just one guy. And if we take this guy away, we have somebody else ready to step in there on any given night.
So, Coach, John Brown is known as a strong basketball school. You've been there at this your 11th season, I believe. Just talk
Yes.
about John Brown University, the support you get there, what basketball means there on campus.
Yeah, JBU is a special place, and it is great. I mentioned earlier, even just having history around and a guy whose name's on the court, and John Sheehy, who coached here for over 20 years and won the '05 national title. I mean, I see him most mornings in here exercising and get to chop it up with him and talk things through. And
Wow.
I mean, they love the game around here. They love our sports, and all of our sports have had a lot of success. And I think we have really good support from our administration, and our student body can really get out and support us. And I think part of that too is we just got great kids in all of our sports. It's not like kind of people you don't want to come out and support. I mean, we love it when, I mean, our faculty and staff gets to know our players, their peers get to know them. And when they get to know them, it's just, we've got great guys. And I think that goes across our other sports. It's just, they're the kind of young men and women who want to come out and support. And so we've been able to have that here. And I mean, it's a special place to play.
That's one of the things I love about NAI sports. I'm most connected with NAI basketball, but when I go around to different campuses and I talk to faculty or administration, they'll almost invariably tell me that student athletes are the best students on campus. 20 years ago or 25 years ago, coach, that wasn't the case. So the landscape has really changed, hasn't it, as far as student athletes, scholar athletes go?
It has, and I think a lot of that, speaks to, like, this isn't like to toot my horn. I think you think about your coaching staff overall, and those people play such a huge role. And obviously, recruiting can play a role in that.
Right.
But I think if you look around, like our league does it a lot of different ways, and you can look at some teams that do it different than us and might be extremely heavy on the transfer side of things, and get teams that might look different than a John Brown team, and we've got coaches that do a really good job of mentoring these young men, of helping them represent their university in a positive way. And I think that's a reflection a lot of times of some of the coaching staffs.
When you're out recruiting either transfer, you're mostly high school kids, though, aren't you?
We have been an awful lot of high school kids, or at least 4-year kids. We've had a lot of prep school kids over the
Oh,
years
okay,
as
yeah,
well.
okay,
Probably at least 9 or 10 of them in the last, I'd say, 7 years or so. And that's been really good for us. You end up getting somebody who comes in as a freshman, but with an extra year under their
yeah.
belt. And that's been really huge. I think most of the guys that we've got in that role have come in and gone on to some really strong careers for us.
When you're looking at these guys coming out of prep school, high school, what are a couple of qualities say you need to have this to be a John Brown guy?
Well, I'd say certainly as we looked at this recruiting class that we brought in, we just said we want guys who can score.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some coaches will look at that different and all. It's just, coming off of a couple years where I thought we were pretty good defensively, but we just struggled at times to score. We wanted to make sure, like, we're bringing in guys that can shoot it. We wanted to be able to say we always have at least 4 of our 5, sometimes 5 guys on the floor that can shoot the three. And we think just the space that provides us is going to be important to who we want to be and the kind of the way we want to play here. So that's a big piece of it. And I think while we look for kids that are going to be hungry, I mean, I feel like every coach is going to tell every high school coach or whatever coach is going to tell a college coach that their kid's a gym rat. And we hear that all the time. And everybody's a gym rat until after the first or second week of school. And then you find out who's really committed to that. And I tell people I hope is a pretty bad kind of philosophy for our recruiting, is we hope guys are getting better and everything, but there is some hope here. If you're going to recruit 4-year guys, it's not just a blind hope and we're hoping they do it. We want guys that are going to really work hard at their craft to get better year to year. And I think for us to have special teams, a lot of those years, somebody or multiple guys make a jump, we would say. And, we've seen that over the years, if somebody goes from, a smaller role to really ready to step into a bigger role from one
Yeah.
year to the next. And I think this year that was Trey Edding for us. And it's always neat. Sometimes we get a couple guys ready to do that at once. And we've started to put them together a little bit more transfers with it as well. And I think there's just more of those out there that fit us these days with so many transfers. So we're able to get a good blend
Yep.
of 4-year guys and transfers.
You mentioned about the shooting. You're out rebounding teams, but it's a relatively narrow margin. You're out shooting teams by a relatively narrow margin, but behind the arc, you're just crushing teams. That's kind of your competitive advantage this season. You talked about getting guys who wanted to score. Is that what you attribute that to, just in your recruiting?
I mean, I hope so. I think, we use that term a lot and we talk about what is our competitive advantage going to be. And that's definitely one of the ones that we would say needs to be there for us. And, honestly, I don't know. From year to year, there's been a couple of years I've actually told people at the beginning of the year, this is, I think, the best group of shooters I've ever coached. I've said that, and I wasn't even blowing smoke. And then we shot the ball terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't know the explaining of it, but this year we've just got a lot of guys that are certainly really good shooters, but we play with a high level of belief and confidence in ourselves and in each other. I think there's a bit of freedom within that, and I think we also are pretty committed to trying to look for the best shots, and I think that can play into it. So you put all those things together, and I mean, this has just been a really fun group to coach. When we had it really going on some games and hit a ton of threes against some teams. And one of the neat things, though, about our progression as a team is we've had to say, what are we going to do when it's those nights that those shots aren't falling? You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
because we've had some games like that. And I mean, and our league knows we can shoot, and they're going to try to take that away from us. And so we've had to get better at our rebound. We've had to get better at being able to get some easier twos and get to the line a little bit more. And I think that's part of this team's growth over the course of the years. We've learned to do that just better and better.
Coach, that's funny you mentioned about that about the shooting. I tell people all the time if you could solve the psychology of shooting and be able to solve it for a team, you'd be a millionaire because
Yeah.
nobody can just from observation, nobody can tell me it's not contagious because a team starts missing threes, everybody starts same thing with free throws, and the next night they'll shoot lights out. There's something that occurs psychologically. I've never figured it out, but it definitely is it's contagious.
It
I
is.
believe that.
And in the end, too, I mean, it's a performance sport. We can try to pump guys up and get them in the best headspace possible to try to help their shooting. But it's guys got to get it done. And, guys come in and they hit shots, it tends to keep going, and they build into that belief. We can try to give them more and more confidence and show that belief, but it's seeing themselves get it done that probably leads to the greatest amount of belief in that. And we've had a lot of guys do that this year. And so there's just, I think our belief is at a pretty high level.
Yeah. You were talking about your staff a moment ago. You and I talked just before we started. Nate Quillen, he was down there. He came up to my neck of the woods. He was at Corbin down in Salem, Oregon for a while. I got to know him there. He's definitely a good guy. He's a guy who definitely knows his craft. What does he mean to your program?
Nate has been so instrumental to our success that we have had here. He's just one of those guys that he connects real well with the players. I think he makes a difference in so many areas. One is he puts in a lot of time just with guys on an individual basis or in small groups, and really puts in a lot of work to helping them get better at their skills. That's a big piece of it. What sometimes it's just teaching over film, getting them in his office there. He's kind of taken over, and I guess this is a good thing, for him for this year, especially when we're scoring so well. He's been kind of in charge more of our offense this year, and I guess it looks bad for me when our defense isn't very good because that's more my level of things. But man, we've been able to score and do a lot of things. I think his ability to teach what we want to do offensively has been really good. And I think he's been able to, from game to game, to looking at how teams are playing us and look at how we need to approach that as well, just based on the philosophies other teams are using against us. He's been great. And I mean, he's a great friend. He's my neighbor. I mean, when they moved back, they moved next door to us. We cut a hole in our fence so that we could talk. We were talking like we're old Wilson on Home Improvement
Yeah,
back in
yeah.
the day. We're like, we just cut a hole in it and we made a table out of it. And now we can just sit there, and our wives use it, I think, more than us. But we just, I mean, it's great to coach with someone who's a friend, and plus he's just really good, like you said, at his craft.
Coach. Last question as we record this, you've got Mid America Christian coming up Thursday night, Southwestern Christian after that, then Texas Wesleyan. It's not going to get any easier as you keep working through this sooner. What does John Brown, the Golden Eagles, need to do down the stretch here to keep your momentum?
Well, I think as I alluded to earlier, it's keep finding ways to put ourselves in games depending on how someone wants to guard us. If
Yep.
it's a night they're going to make it really difficult for us to get as many good looks from three, are we doing some things to get ourselves some easier things around the basket? And I think it just comes down to, I mean, a lot of these coaches in our league have been in the league a while. I mean, we play Mac Yu and Josh Gamlin's team Thursday. He came in the league the year after me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's been around a long time as well. And it's like your teams know each other. Coaches know each other by these points. So a lot of times it just comes down to how well you can execute and what level of commitment you have to doing those things that like make you who you are. And I think that's just, this group has to continue to really refine that. We came back honestly from Christmas and we just said, I was honest. I said, I don't know exactly who we are in some ways. And we've done some great things up to that point, but I think they were still trying to figure out exactly who we are as a team. And I think we're starting to put that together more and more. And I think it's just understanding that, buying into that, and remaining really committed to being who you are.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you giving me a few minutes today. It's great to get to know you. Hopefully, as we get a little closer to playoff time and this Sooner race really heats up, we can get you back on. But I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks so much for having me, and thanks so much for doing this. Love what you do for NAI basketball.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. That's Jason Beschta. He's the head men's basketball coach. John Brown, the Golden Eagles. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot to Jason Beschta as well as to John Brown, the Golden Eagles. Great conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. And look forward to more interviews next week. Well, that's what I have for tonight. As I said, we'll catch up with all the conference standings and all the action over the weekend on Monday morning. So join us then. This weekend, get out, take your family to an NAI game. It's not that expensive. Buy the kids some popcorn too, because NAI basketball is the best entertainment value in America. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAI school, because NAI basketball is the best entertainment value in America.